this thing with my dad where I was about to graduate and he said, right, that's it, kind of, you're on your own, in a positive, life enriching way, not in a nasty way. To blood and tears, got these commercial partners involved, but no one came, and it was devastating. I remember to this day, like, I just want to cry thinking about it. And if you're awake all night because you don't think money's coming in, that's not very motivating. Like, if someone's got a dream and they go, I just really want to do this, people were being governed by their own limitations, by their own insecurities, because they were jealous or because they didn't have the guts.
InspirationNation, hello. Welcome to another week on the podcast. I'm here alone again because we're doing another special. I've got another guest for you, a lovely guest actually, with me. I've got Jenny Knighting from Nutcracker agency. She's very inspiring. I met Jenny when basically through her agency, they reached out to me after I listened to her on a podcast. I wish, I can have this person on my podcast. And guess what? They reached out to me, which is fantastic. It was lovely. So Jenny Knighting is the CEO and founder of the Nutcracker agency. Been going since 2014. Really excited to have her on. She deals with scaling businesses and commercial growth. So there's really a lot of experience. And her LinkedIn describes her as a dynamo. And so I just can't wait to dig into the mindset of Jenny, because I think she's got a lot to offer. And so let's just get straight into it. So Jenny, how are you?
Well, after that introduction, I can't be anything but a dynamo. I love it.
Absolutely. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, literally, your LinkedIn profile was just crazy. I thought it was fantastic. Some brilliant recommendations.
Thank you.
No, it's just lovely. And it's just lovely to sort of meet you and speak to you. So I just want to sort of go into sort of how you started, because, you've got this agency, great agency. And I know I've followed you guys. You head it up, and I know you call it, and I'll let you expand about, you call them the Nutcrackers. I'd like to get a little bit behind that as well, which is fantastic. So just tell me about you sort of how you got into marketing. What was the journey? Just tell us a little bit about your history and how this all led up to this point. Would be great.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of stumbled along it. I'd love to say to you, I went to university and really that was my mission, but it wasn't really like that. I had this thing with my dad where I was about to graduate and he said, right, that's it, kind of, you're on your own, in a positive, life enriching way, not in a nasty way. I said, that's it, you've got to get a job now, you're done. And I was like, wow, I haven't even graduated yet, Dad. And he's like, well, you got to get a job. Okay, well, how hard can it be? I'll get one today then, if you're going to be like that. Like, off I go. Got in touch with some graduate recruitment agencies that you had back then, sent my CV off and said, I need a job today, what have you got? And then went up to have interviews and actually got a job very, very quickly. But it was with a company called Montgomery Exhibitions, and they were a really lovely family-run, they still are, a lovely family-run organisation that did some fantastic kind of exhibitions, B2B. And I was very lucky because I just fell in love with it. I absolutely loved exhibitions. I loved live events. I loved kind of having a floor plan and having this vision of how it was going to be, and then building it up and getting all these brands involved. And then I thought it was like magic. You turns up and this thing you'd worked on for so long, all of a sudden it just took shape before your eyes, and it was just a meeting of lots of different people, and I really loved that. And so I stayed within exhibitions for quite a while. Well, probably not that long, probably about 4 years, but absolutely loved it. And that kind of launched me into this world of events, where I then went on to do different roles within the events world, from kind of big business conferences through to glitzy award ceremonies, through to kind of other things like that. And through that process, obviously the marketing of the events is really key. So I was always very much on the sponsorship and exhibition and sales side, but working very closely with marketing people, and always loved it. I loved the concept of drawing people in and getting people to visit, and it was such an intrinsic part of success that always really, really interested me. And then through a situation where I poured my heart and soul into something and it didn't go right because of the marketing efforts. It wasn't my colleague's fault who was doing it. It was one of those things, but I was devastated because I loved this event. It was a business that I had small shares in. It was the first time I was kind of setting up. Sweated blood and tears, got these commercial partners involved, but no one came, and it was devastating. I remember to this day, like, I just want to cry thinking about it. And I think from that moment on, I had this light bulb moment of marketing is the missing link. Marketing is really important. It doesn't matter how good you are at sales, if you don't market properly, you're not going to get anywhere. So I guess from that moment, I then started to get more involved on the marketing side, because by this time I guess I gathered a lot of experience, albeit not from the traditional route of being a junior then executive and all the rest of it. And then I started working for a digital startup, and very quickly became very involved in the marketing side as well as the sales side. And through the different outreach and different initiatives I was doing, I then took over the marketing director role there as well as sales director. And I guess I never really looked back. And I think the thing for me of marketing was I just saw it as an extension of sales, just a really smart way of doing things. And what I didn't understand was how sales and marketing people seem to hate each other. And this massive disconnect where, you know, marketing people thought salespeople were lazy, salespeople thought marketing people were fluffy. And the end result was that the magic didn't happen. And I guess that was where my real love for it. I just kind of thought, well, unless you market, doesn't matter how good your sales team is, no matter how good your sales are, you're going ahead with your arm behind your back. And I think that was my light bulb moment of going, I love marketing. I love what it can do. I love the power it gives you. I love it. And that was when I really fell in love with marketing. And that was my background.
Wow. Yeah. So you fell in love. So that whole thing about no one turned up.
Oh, I was devastated.
So what happened? I mean, that must have been really difficult because literally you pour your heart and soul into. You got some shares in the business.
It
A
was
difficult
really
moment, right?
It was very difficult, and I had buy-in. I mean, I'd set, well, two colleagues had set the business up previously, but set up a different section of it and asked me to join as a three of us. And the service office in Teddington. And in 6 months, I had to put this big sponsorship-led event. And, you know, roundtable sponsorship was £50,000 a piece. And, you know, we projected to get however much in. And I kind of sat there just, of course I can do this. You know, why wouldn't I be able to do it? So, and I did. You know, we had Microsoft, IBM, we had what was Orange. We had, the lineup was just, you could have kissed the floor. It was so perfect. It was just wonderful. But also the people at these businesses were really nice. They really wanted me to succeed. They bought into this vision of me sitting there going, yes, we're a launch business. Yes, we're a launch event, but we're going to do this and this is going to be amazing. And, you know, and they wanted it to be, and I wanted it to be. And then when I say no one turns up, we did get people turned up, but not enough. I think because the sales side of the event was more successful than we'd expected, we bolted on a small exhibition. If we hadn't have bolted on a small exhibition and we'd stuck true to the roundtables, probably would have been fine. But we, and I guess that was my learning from it actually, was we probably should have just said, right, we've sold out the roundtables. That was our purpose. Let's leave it at that and make it a success. Instead, we kind of got greedy, I think. We thought, oh, it's there. Let's make it even bigger. And I guess because the three of us, our background was in exhibitions, it was easy to fall back on that comfort factor of let's get an exhibition in. But yeah, and then I guess from there, I was very lucky through my role before Nutcracker to work on a number of really interesting roundtables with which had entrepreneurs and people that had scaled and grown fairly successful businesses, then turned over between, I don't know, 10 and 30 million. And I was very lucky to take part in these roundtables, to chair them sometimes, and to be part of it, part of the discussions. And I think that was an invaluable learning for me, because I regularly heard from 10 to 15 entrepreneurs who'd been there, done it, bought the t-shirt, their pain points, their failures, what didn't work, what worked, what they regretted. And I could soak all this massive information that most people wouldn't be lucky enough to be privy to. And then through Nutcracker, I've really enjoyed being part of different businesses of all different shapes and sizes, from different sectors, different demands, different goals. So I've ended up having an awful lot of experience at marketing lots of different types of businesses, which I love, because I love a challenge.
I can tell that. I see the animation. It's so lovely. It's so good. And I heard you sort of say you could soak up all the stories of all the entrepreneurs that were there. What's your thought on the environment then? Do you think being in that environment actually inspired you to go on? Had you not had that exposure, do you think you would be where you are now? Would you think it'd be something different? What are your thoughts about environment, being around these types of people?
I guess I've not thought of it like that, but I guess it is contagious. And I think, I was having a chat actually with someone the other day who said, but you've actually had a lot of experience at working at kind of mid-sized businesses. And I said, yeah, I suppose you're right, actually. I've only really worked at a couple of startups. But I think in my mind, I always preferred that startup culture. Yes, it's messy. Yes, you wish it was easier. Yes, there's pain points. But I really like that everyone mucking in, like having that common bond, that real purpose. But yeah, I guess you're right. I guess sitting around and meeting all these people to achieve some great stuff. Yeah, perhaps it did influence me more than I think. Yeah, it could well have done.
That inspiring thing, right? Because there's a lot of things I feel like I'm surrounded by these books for coaching stuff, because my sort of thing is coaching. I love doing the whole coaching thing, seeing people succeed. So you're doing business and stuff like that. And so I surround myself with all this stuff, like consume the content, but coach people and things like that. So, and I find that environment quite, it's because you feel that it's your thing. You feel that whole engine. That sounds like it's come across to you. So, you said about startups, and in our audience, they're into sort of inspiration, and we've got quite a few people who are into business who are our audience. And obviously there's people who, do coaching and do coaching business and they're in the market, all that sort of stuff and going on that. What would you say is what are the most important things then, do you think, if you're starting up? What do people really need to think about before they even start putting themselves out there and doing these things? What do you think is the very first step someone needs to think about?
I guess the starting point is your objective. Why are you doing it? What's your motivation? And I guess before you even start, it's worth thinking about what success looks like, because otherwise you're going it very blind. If you just say, I want to start my business, there's not a lot of direction to that. If you say, I want to start up my business to employ people, to grow, to do this, then you've got almost like a benchmark of where you want to be. So I guess for me, the starting point would be, what does this business look like to you? And then I think it's really important to have a think about your own skill set. What do you bring to the table, and what parts of the puzzle are then missing? And do you have the resource and the money to get them in? If you don't, can you launch a business without them, or will it still survive? So I guess a few things I think is important, but for me, success in businesses is made a lot easier if there's strategy and there's structure. And I think if people go off without strategy and structure, it's easy to make mistakes, but it's also to waste a lot of time in places where you're not getting a return, which means that you can waste a lot of hours, and at the end of it, you probably haven't got a lot to show for it, not because you're not working hard, but because you're not working smart. So I think getting it clear in your head, your purpose and what you want to achieve and what you want to do is important. And I think for people starting out, there's nothing wrong with saying you want a lifestyle business. There's nothing wrong with saying you want to be a consultant. And, it doesn't have to be that your dream is to grow it to be, employing 20, 30, 40 people. Equally, if your goal is to have 20, 30, 40 people, then you need to be much more strategic, much more aware of 3-year financial plans, how you're going to do that, so you can then start to work out what turnover you need to start employing people. So there's different approaches that are needed depending on what that vision is and depending on what you really want to achieve.
So really what you said when I put up that and correct my wrong, and it's like finding what your purpose is, like why is it, finding the why behind your business. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, finding the why. Why are you doing it? What's your motivator, and what do you want to achieve? For me, that's a starting point of anything.
Yeah, so like that whole thing, because it's really hard, isn't it, starting a business?
Yeah, if you stop and think about it, it is.
if everyone knew how hard it was, I don't think they'd start it, would they? If actually, this is how hard it is. This is it. It's why you got to love it, isn't it? You got to absolutely love it. You got to love it. So yeah,
I love it, but I think at times, it can push you to your limits. So I think you've got to be passionate. And if you haven't got a purpose, you're then not going to have the grit and the resilience to stick it out.
Yeah, I think that's the right, isn't it? And that's the thing. And yeah, I think that is the key. Is if you don't love it, because there's people who might do it for money, and I don't know how you feel about this, and I'd love to know your thought on it. But if you're just doing it for money, the people who absolutely love it they're going to actually outstrip you because they're doing it because they love it. And no matter how much you do, you're just doing it because if you're just doing it for money, you're going to burn out because you're not going to keep pace. What do you think about that? Have you seen people just doing things for money as opposed to people doing it for purpose? Have you seen a difference?
It's interesting you should bring this up, because I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago where somebody whose business it was said, for me, it's a non-emotive decision. I said, really? You don't feel emotion? I said, no, it's financial, it's transactional. And I was really bewildered, because for me, I can't see how that works. Because certainly most people could probably earn more money working somewhere else to start with. And, you're not doing it because you're suddenly getting this great big fat paycheck. And if you work out the hours you put in for your return, you're probably taking a pay decrease in most circumstances. So for me, I don't think money should be a factor. Having said that, I think you should still have aspirations with money, and I think money should come into it because you need to be able to grow a business, and that has to be linked to turnover. A lot of people say turnover is vanity, and it's all about the profit. But turnover isn't vanity if that's one of your drivers that makes you really feel motivated and drives you on. I think it's very personal. I think it's a very personal decision what your motivators are and where money sits in that. And I think money isn't the be all and the end all, but you still need to pay your bills. You still need to be able to do things. And if you're awake all night because you don't think money's coming in, that's not very motivating. So I think people that say money doesn't matter at all, it's a little bit naive. But if people are going to be a slave to money, they're probably going to not necessarily make long-term decisions. They're going to always live in the short term to kind of eke that bit more money out of their business.
Yeah, because people sort of say, oh, there's an opportunity. They go for the opportunity and it's like, just go for that, because they're not really bought into it. They're just doing it because of that. You know, how long can they go on for? Because of
yeah, and also you know, I could have scaled Nutcracker so much quicker if one of my founding objectives wasn't to produce excellent work. If I wanted to kind of go, oh, it's fine, I could have grown so much quicker. But for me, one of my motivations in starting Nutcracker was to found an agency where the caliber of work was as good as an in-house team. Because often when you outsource to an agency, people say the agency didn't really get the brief, they weren't really listening, it's all surface. It feels like a transaction. And that's why I think a lot of agency client relationships don't feel that good. Whereas actually, if you can treat marketing, if you're passionate about the marketing that's needed as the in-house team, then you really do bring an edge, because you're bringing really experienced writers, you're bringing experienced marketing strategies, you're bringing experienced designers, you're bringing so much to the table where you really are producing exceptional work. But I think you can only do that if you can only do that over really sustained growth, because you've got to make sure the talent coming in gets it, they're trained up, they understand the ethos. You've then got to find the right clients that want, I don't know, like if I'd have scaled it any quicker, I would have had to go, I'm just chasing money. You know, my brand values would have had to be compromised.
And this is the whole thing, is it? I think a value-based business that's the way to grow sustainably, I think. And I think that's what you're alluding to there.
I think sustainably. I think so many businesses, I can't remember the stats, but it's something, what is the stats? There's a horribly high percentage of businesses that fail in the first 5 years. I mean, it's crazy high, isn't it? I want to say like 7% or something.
It's a really big number. Yeah, I don't know the stats, but I agree with you. That's what I hear.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, and that's the point, isn't it? I mean, because let's face it. I mean, you're being successful now, but you've had some failures along the way. I suspect, you know, yourself. You said you had that whole marketing thing went down the pan, but you did it, and that's just what's going to happen. Maybe people in our audience are going to start a business, going to fail, but actually, what can we take the learning from that? What is it?
Totally, and from a failure perspective, like, what is failure? Like, yes, I look back at that event and I wish it'd been flooded with people, but I learned so much from that. And I don't know, like, if someone starts their own business and it fails, they haven't really failed, because they've done something they really wanted to do, they've given it a go. That's not failing. You know, whether it failed, whether the business stopped functioning as a business before they wanted it to, that's different. And, you know, I think we use the word, you know, we started off having a bit of chat before you started recording about kind of, you know, I want a deeper society, it's not so shallow.
Yeah, you go for that, Jenny. Come on. Get it on the podcast.
We're going philosophical now, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think it's very shallow, isn't it? You failed, you succeeded. It's a very shallow way of looking at it. Like, if someone's got a dream and they go, I just really want to do this, and they do it, well, they've won, haven't they? They've won. They've ticked a big thing off their bucket list, and there's nothing more exciting than that. Is that failing if it's not in business 3 years later? I don't know. Is it disappointing? Yes. But is it failing? No.
I agree. I think it's just learning.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, that's the problem. I think that's what we have. Like, people think failure, that's it, it's the end of it, and give up. And so I've been on off what I'm doing for ages. Only the last 2 years, I've really sort of stuck at it. That I really want to go for it in a big way. And my family think I'm crazy. Friends think I'm crazy. People just think I'm crazy because I love it.
But it's what you want to do. And that's
I
what
love it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the whole thing. There's some people that support you. There's some people who say, you know, mum's always said, oh, you be careful. You know, there's people out there. You know, and of course, there's all those sort of stories that people tell you and things like that. And I think there's a lot to be said in that because there's always going to be people that say have done it. And I think that's why I talk back about surrounding yourself with the right types of people, not people that are going to sort of like just encourage you for the sake of it because, oh, you're doing well, but like proper encouragement. That was difficult, I know that, but maybe just pivot this a little bit. That might work and just keep going, and it'll be a different version of it.
it's interesting. I'm quite passionate about really looking at who your sounding boards are, because a lot of people need the validation of other people's opinions, and they need to check what someone else thinks. And I think that can be dangerous if you're not really looking at where you're getting that advice from, because I know when I started the business, I was told by lots and lots of people it was a stupid decision, I was going to regret it, and you know, it was going to be this, it's going to be that. And I didn't really take any notice, but I could have done. But when I look back at that, people were being governed by their own limitations, by their own insecurities, because they were jealous, or because they didn't have the guts, or because they just thought I was stupid. But that's their lives, you know. And I think that a lot of people put too much importance on people validating their own decisions, but that's not taking into account that their path is different. The person they're asking is on a very different path, will have different experiences, different baggage, different insecurities. How can they give them the right advice on their life? So I think sounding boards and seeking the right counsel is very important to making the right decisions, but also I think tapping into your instincts and really listening to what you think. I think that is what's really important, and listening to that inner voice, and then I think it's easy to make a decision.
I know you point to your heart there, like it's the heart, right? The heart, I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like one of my business friends, if you like, he talks about a traffic light system where you've got to engage your mind, your heart, and your gut. What's your instinct? What's your heart saying? What does your mind say? And I think that's great, but invariably in most situations, one of those things takes over. I think if you listen to your gut a lot more, you'll make better decisions than if you listen to your heart or just your mind.
They say the gut, there's a load of neurons in your gut, apparently. They found this lot of neurons. So there's a lot of said with that. And it's chewing into that. So going back to a little bit to your story, because the thing, and I mentioned it earlier at the podcast about, you know, when you launched your business, like, go on, tell the story about that. Because like, this was just crazy. Like, you tell it, because you told it really well, and I listened to it on this other podcast. Obviously, this is the the Simon Squibb podcast. Give him a little plug as well. It's a Good Luck podcast, so go listen to that.
We love Simon Squibb. Hello, Simon.
Yeah, exactly.
There you
go.
Yeah, no. So it is a bit of a funny story. So I put a lot of blood and tears into this digital startup, and I really loved it. Like, I loved the business, and you know, I was the commercial lead, and you know, I remember in the early days we were going in against Evening Standard with our 7,000 unique visitors and getting the campaigns. We didn't quite know how, and it was a brilliant journey, and I loved it. But I had this one day where there's lots of different influences that had happened. I'd had a disagreement with the CEO, who was retiring, for me to, who was planning to semi-retire, so I could get more involved on that kind of leadership side. And I was really overloaded, and I'd gone the wrong way on the tube, which is very unlike me, because I hate being late. Like, I have to be punctual. Like, I really can't cope with being late. And I'd gone into this agency, and there was someone sat opposite me who was just like, oh, so hungover. And I was like, we're here to talk about your client's campaign. And I was really excited about it, and they just weren't excited. They were just disengaged. And a couple of other things happened. And I just thought, oh, this is just ridiculous. I can do this better. And I just had this knee-jerk moment where I literally was on the tube, and I didn't, like, normally if you send a resignation letter, if you're anything like most people, you really think about it, don't you? Like, if you're really angry, you know, you draft it off, and it's really short. I resign. You know, if it's a good relationship, it's a well thought out. Well, I did it between stops. And it's quite
this
long.
Is Jenny in a nutshell for you guys. This is Jenny, like, does not stop, straight in there. I've got to get this done. This is what I love about you, Jenny. You just don't.
Well, yeah, then I got off the tube, and I thought, oh, you know, and I had that moment walking up the escalators thinking, it's not quite sent yet. And I thought, nope, I'm going to do this. And then I went home, and I'd never switched my phone off. I switched my phone off. And my husband said to me, do you have a good day? I said, oh, yeah, I resigned today. And he said, sorry, what? I said, yeah.
You didn't tell your husband? You didn't tell your husband?
Not anyone. I just did it on the tube.
Look at this.
And he said, oh my goodness, I had 2 small children. He was just like, what? And I was like, don't worry, I'm going to make it work. It's going to be fine. I'm going to make this work. And I did. But to stay true to that kind of impulse, and I'm not normally that impulsive. I'm a very responsible person, so I don't normally make kind of silly impulsive, especially not when it comes to my family's financial security. But I just knew in that instant it was the right thing to do. And then over the weekend, I thought if I go back into work, I wasn't due on the Monday, I was going to go in on the Tuesday. I thought, I loved my old boss. I've got to be honest, he was a real character, and he was my boss on and off for a number of years. I had a lot of respect for him, a lot of time for him. I thought if I saw him, he would change my mind, because I did love the business I was lead championing. I did love it. But I'm not going to change my mind. This is what I've got to do. I just knew it was the right thing. So I got in touch with a number of people that I'd worked with over the years that I really respected, and said, look, I'm going to start my own agency. Will you be on my founding team? So that, you know, I know you've got other jobs, but if I get a contract that comes in, will you freelance for me? And can I launch the website with your name on it and with your bio, and you're giving that support? And they all said yes. And then I found a name over the weekend, and then by the time I walked into work on the Tuesday, it was registered, had my meeting set up with my bank. It was pretty rapid, but it was the only way. I think when I make big life-changing decisions, I do them quite rapidly, because I think if you stop and think, you would never do anything. I'm not trying to get your lovely audience to suddenly do stupid things, but I think sometimes you can overthink things, and it can make you then not do anything. You can almost stagnate and think, oh, if I do that, that's going to happen. If I do that, and then you don't really get anywhere. So sometimes I do think you have to make that decisive decision and think, I'm going to do this.
That's really inspiring, though. The fact you didn't even tell your husband.
Well, I don't need that inspiring. I thought it was a bit cross.
He went, what am I going to? I've got bills coming in next month. No, it's brilliant.
But, you know, I never dropped my salary. I never dropped below what I was earning before. And
amazing.
and my family benefited from it. It was never something which put them in hardship. And I'm a hard worker. You know, if I'd had to get two jobs, like, I'm a hard worker, I would have come up with the money. But for me, your life path is so much more than just that. You've got to really fulfill the potential you want to fulfill, and everyone's got to have a dream, everyone's got to have a goal. You know, it's hard work life, isn't it? Like, it's hard. You've got to feel you're getting the most from it, and you're really fulfilling what you want to achieve.
I absolutely love that. Yeah, rinsing the life out of life, you know. And what you said about the idea to action, and there's another guy, I think you might love him actually. He's called Evan Carmichael, and I look at his content's really good. And also Mark Drager, they sort of work together. But he talks about this thing called idea to action. Idea to action. If you have an idea and you feel it's like what you got, that whole, like, actually I was going to ask you a question first. That where did that come from? Was it your head, your heart, or your gut? Because you said about this. Where can you remember?
You know what?
Was it the gut? Was it the gut?
I think all three were aligned.
Right.
I think that was it. I think my instinct was it was the right thing to do. My heart, I'd had a call with childmind. My younger daughter there was a problem with my younger daughter, and like all of us that have children, my kids are my world. And I'm fine if they're happy, but if they're not, I can't think straight. So I need them to be happy. You know, I need to feel that they're well looked after if they're not with me. It's a really important thing to me. So that was my heart, I guess. And I think also my heart was involved in this really disenchanted, really person was terrible at their job. Because just before that, I'd been in with a marketing director of this bank, or perhaps not a marketing director, it was a very senior lead in this marketing bank. Really liked her, absolutely lovely person. And she was really passionate about what she was doing, and we'd come up with this campaign, these ideas, and she was excited, and so was I, and it was gonna be amazing. And I kind of walked in stage like, it's brilliant, I just need you to sign it off, it's all agreed. Oh, isn't it great? And it's because I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm so hungover. I was just like, what? So I think that was my heart too. You know, that was my indignation that you got to care. Where's your heart? And then my mind was, if I can make all this money for other people, surely I can sell my own business. If I can't back myself, if I don't believe in myself, then how can I be a good salesperson? How can I be a good marketeer if I can't even believe that I can do it for myself? And that was the logic in me, thinking, how hard can it be, really? You know? So I think it was and my gut was, you got to do this.
So the gut won, really, because the gut,
get it done.
Yeah, so the gut said yes, the heart said, well, I'm not arguing with the gut, nor the head's not arguing with the gut either. He just said, we're going. So that's that emotional drive, right? The emotional drive. That person that said, I'm all hungover. Wow, that's you mentioned that a few times, the interview now, like. So you really care about that whole customer, you know.
I do. I really care about it.
Not just that I care, but I really care about you. So go on, you're going to say.
I do. I really care. Like, if we're going to market someone's business, we're going to market to the absolute best of our ability, and we're going to care, and it's going to matter. You know, there aren't going to be typos. It's going to be excellent. It's going to get leads, and if it's not, we're going to try another route. Like, I don't get this not caring. I don't understand. It's alien to me, this concept of not caring or trying. Don't get it.
I love that. And the whole thing that, yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. I think this is where, where I think, smaller business can really be nimble and get into that space, because a lot of these big businesses, oh, well, we've got another contract, like you can really care. But actually, if big businesses are really smart and they went, do you know what, if really care, they could actually like go crush it even more, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
They're just so static, So that's what I love about what you're doing, because I think, Nutcracker goes crazy, no matter how big it gets, I think you'll want to retain that tenaciousness, caring.
It will always have that heart. Yeah.
Oh, I definitely agree with that, and this is lovely, and this is what I love. I can feel the passion coming through the screen. I could just feel this right now. The idea to action thing is a really interesting thing to me, because I used to not take any action. I used to think a lot, and I used to do anything like, what are people going to say? People think. And now I've gone to. I had to get that whole. For me, I had to do it slowly and build up over time, because my confidence was really low. And I think even before we come to the podcast, I had I want to do this whole coaching thing, and people say, oh, is it a thing? And people say, no, you're never going to do it. And of course, I've been up and down with it for many years. But now I've said, no, I've just got to do it. And if you think about, I'm going to do this video, right? Let's do the video. If I think about it too long, I won't do it, because I'll be worrying too much. And so I think there's a lot in that, because there's a whole Evan Carmichael thing that says, well, if you come up with the idea, you go to bed, wake up the next day, you wake up a different person, so you won't action it, you have to act in the moment. And you did it on the tube, which I just think is fascinating. Like, wow, that's proper idea to action right there. And so, because the content he produces, success, it's 10 rules of success or success mindsets, and that's what I want to get. I want to get into the nitty gritty of because of you guys and agencies and businesses like yours that have really got that tenacity. And so idea to action is one of these things. I'm so glad that you pulled out of there. So just tell me then, what was the most difficult time in your life? Can you give me the most difficult time in your life, and how did you, you said about basis family, was that the hardest time? Was there another time when things were really difficult?
What, from a business perspective, I hope?
Business or whatever you think was difficult, because there can be a lot of things that are really hard. So for me, I can give you a bit of mine. I could give you mine. Mine was depression. I was literally, that's why I started this whole coaching thing, because I was super depressed. Didn't know any meaning in my work. I didn't think it was going to make impact. Our self-talk was horrendous. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to essentially end my own life. So that's why I started this whole thing. And coaching really just saved my life, really. So I'm really passionate about helping people.
Now?
Sorry?
How do you feel now?
I feel amazing. I feel great now, but it's a whole journey about it. But yeah, thank you for asking that. It's very kind. So you're a caring person. But no, it was it's been a bit of a journey, That was probably 15, 20 years ago. I had some relapses, maybe 10, 12 years ago. But ever since then, it's that whole gradual build. So I'm really passionate about help people get coaching through that, because you can get help and therapy, which I had. But it was really, that was one of the most hardest moments. And I had a family on the outside, Jenny, you'd think, well, there's nothing wrong. Got a house, got children, got job, got income, but there was just something missing. There was that whole purpose and what am I meant to here to do? Why am I here on planet Earth? There was that whole disconnect between, yes, I'm earning a living, but I didn't feel that visceral connection.
I think a lot of people feel that way. I think one of the things that I think people don't do is that self-reflection, that reason as to why we are reacting the way we do and what governs us and what our founding memories are that make us feel a certain way. And I think it's only when you really do self-reflect and you really look yourself properly in the mirror and really look at yourself and see what's there, that's the only time I think you really become at peace with yourself. Because I think everyone has got things that have happened to them throughout their lives which have made them feel either not good enough, or and that can manifest with self-esteem, or it can manifest itself with reckless behaviour, or it can manifest itself in lots of different ways. And I think you only really find peace when you forgive any bad behaviour you've done, forgive people that have done bad behaviour to you, and just reconcile and just think, I like me. Because I think one of the most enlightening moments of my life is being comfortable in my own skin and liking who I am. That's not to say I think I'm perfect or I get things right all the time. I certainly don't, but I try to do the right thing, and I try to act in a way that I can live with. So I think learning to really like yourself and not having to need validation from other people, or needing to fill your life with lots of people, or just not being able to cope with the silence, I think it's a massive gift you can give yourself. And I think for me, when I learned to accept being me and who I thought I was and who I wanted to be, was a real big moment of, I don't know, I guess freedom, because then you're not trying to be something else, or you're not trying to conform, or you're not trying to, you're not trying to be something different. I don't really like being the centre of attention in some situations. Like, I'm much more introverted than that. And I think I could never accepted that. I always would have made sure that on my birth I had loads of people, or I did this, or I did gatherings, because I thought that's what everybody did. But I didn't enjoy them, because I don't really like that kind of thing for myself. Like, I like going to other people's and then being the centre of attention. I just don't particularly like it if it's me. So I think learning to be comfortable and learning to kind of think, just know yourself, I think is one of the most liberating parts of maturing, I guess. Does that all make sense?
It does, yeah. So you said about you had this moment. Was there a difficult moment in your life where you realised that, or was it just a moment where I don't know.
I think so. Like, sorry, I'm being a bit cagey. I don't really like to talk, but I think yeah. I had some fairly difficult situations growing up. I was had a very, very ill relative, which had a big impact on myself, my sister, and my parents, and different things that happened which were really, really difficult. And I think if you have quite a lot of trauma at a really young age, it can impact you quite badly with abandonment issues and different issues that can really affect you. Mine was a real yin and yang, because I've got an extremely supportive family with some great people in it, but through this experience with this relative, I had absolute chaos. And I think that yin and yang can be quite confusing when you're growing up. So I think for me, because of certain things, I perhaps behaved in a way which wasn't kind to myself. And I think if I could go back to me as a teenager, I'd just say, be kind to yourself. You haven't got to please other people. Like, you have your respect, and have your, put yourself first, and don't dumb yourself down because you feel inferior, because you feel a certain way. And I think there's not any one time, and I'll be prepared to talk about this interview, perhaps if we were offline I would, but different situations have happened which of course have been horrendous. But for me, it's about processing each situation, processing why it happened, processing my part to play in it, processing how I can do it differently, and healing. I'm a great believer in not carrying great big suitcases around of bad experiences and bad memories, because it's exhausting. So I'm a great believer in letting them go and just not carrying them around. So I guess, not kind of sidestepping your question, but I guess for me, it's about really owning your own shit, if you like, and then being at peace with that.
I love that. I just want to sit there for a moment, because that was really great, because that is what it's about.
I think
owning
so.
your own. And I don't usually swear, but you've encouraged me to swear.
I would say I don't, but that'd be a complete lie, Joe, because if my children are listening, I don't ever swear. There's other words to use.
Owning your own shit, in Jenny's words. All right, guys. I'm not going to blank out. Usually I blank them out in the podcast, but I'm going to leave it, because I think it really has context. No, this is what the depression gave me, right? That's why I really struggled with it, and it made me look at myself. And I had therapy and stuff like that, which they just tell you your feelings, and that's where I think my real self-awareness, because I was just treading on the treadmill of life, right?
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. It's dangerous though. It's really dangerous, because you can go through your whole life and just end up. I'm not saying job's bad. It's not, and jobs are great. And I've got an amazing job. I'm really lucky, but I've shaped it, right? And I've shaped it with what I do now and with there. So at the minute, it's a lovely symbiotic relationship at the minute, and I know things are going to change, and it depends on what happens, right? That's taken a lot of shaping. Go on, Julie can say. Go on.
No, sorry, Joe. No,
all I
was going to say, because you sparked off my thinking, is that I think one of the problems that face a lot of people is they spiral into conditioned negative thinking. So competitive tiredness, competitive stress, competitive, my life is awful. I think it takes hold of a lot of people, kind of how I'm so tired. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, I try not to, but sometimes I can be victim of this. Like, I'm so stressed, I'm so full on, like, la la la, moan. And you don't feel any better. Whereas if you just take a moment to say, yeah, actually, this pocket of my life's good. Yeah, I'm going to change that. This is how I'm going to affect change. And you actually embrace it. Or if you're having a really bad day, you take that moment where you do just one thing for 10 minutes that makes you feel good. You can't then say your day's been awful, because if a day's 12 hours but only an hour was bad, then actually it's a pretty good day. So I think this retraining your mindset to not always seek the negative and to try and seek the positive and the gratitude side of life makes life a lot easier to be enriched and a full life, because you then go looking for it, don't you? Because then you then think, it's autumn, I'd like to go and kick some autumn leaves, I'd like to go somewhere pretty, I'd like to go and do that, rather than sitting at home and thinking it gets dark at 4, it's so depressing, blah, blah, blah. You can either opt in and opt in to have great experiences, or you can opt out and you can sit moaning. And I think that's where a lot of people can help themselves, is the next time they're about to criticize someone who's left the room because or whatever, or even something stupid like there's a famous celebrity who happens to be pretty, we haven't got to trash them, or if there's someone who just has got a bit of a different opinion to you, it doesn't make them horrible. Like, if we're just a bit more tolerant and a bit more positive and a bit more upbeat, I really think good things happen, because I'm a great believer if you put yourself out there in a positive way to the universe, it answers. I don't want to sound too hippy dippy, but I really do think that. And I think the more positive you are, the more positive things happen to you. And I think that kind of change in that mindset of just stopping that criticism, stopping that banal spiel about critical, bad to say bollocks, critical stuff that doesn't.
It's all right, Jenny, go for it. You're going all over this tonight. This is brilliant.
Critical stuff that doesn't matter. I just think it adds into this kind of this melting pot of just negativity, grey, black, rubbish life, when actually life can be great, can't it? It can be wonderful. You can actually see the blue sky, you can actually see the leaves, you can see the smile on someone you love's face, you can see something great to eat, or you can see the fact you can feed your kids and they're not eating rubbish, or whatever it might be. There's always something to feel grateful for. And I think if we're all a bit more grateful for what we do have, it stops us complaining and feeling negative about what we don't have. And I think that mindset is really helpful to feel better about things.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. Absolutely. So there is a pattern to success, and I can see you've got it in a bow. I can see you're going to go crazy. Great, because that is what successful people do. They do that. So I've been studying success for a while now. And I've got a gratitude journal that I fill in every morning. What I can be grateful for. At the end of the day, I have intentions. At the beginning of the day, I'll set out, right, so what do I want to be like today? So happy, present, engaged. Even if it might go rubbish, like, let me say rubbish, but actually, what can I find in that? And if something does go wrong, what can I pull out of that that's going to help me, rather than give into that whole negativity? And I read up a Harvard study, so I was training some stuff out, and it was said that for every one negative thing you say, you need 6 positives to cancel that one negativity out, because negativity is really powerful.
And it's very toxic and draining.
Yeah, and the more you say negative things, that they're really powerful. So the fact that you're actually looking at your own language and going, well, if I just say, it's rubbish, and you're just going to bring yourself down. And also you'll get, and it's really great, Jenny, because you're saying, take empowerment back.
Like, you're taking the power back.
Because you're not giving out there. You're not saying, oh, it's dark. And then because you can do that. I can blame other people. I can blame the weather, because it's easy, right? I've got no work to do. I don't have to do any work, right? And I don't feel great. And it feels like it's something that it's almost like cultural, isn't it? It's like a little bit cultural, but it's definitely
very cultural.
I don't know whether it's. And
if you think about people meeting up, like if you said to lots of different groups of people, for this time you're sharing together, you cannot criticize another human being. Do you want to talk? What would they talk about? Like, I just think if we shift things around a bit and we look at the positives and look at what we're grateful for, and we look at, even if life has thrown you some curveballs which are hard to overcome, a reasonably bad curveball, not a horrific one, but you start to see a way out of it. You're much more likely to come out of it. And I think that life can be tough. Just living can be tough. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel hard. But it doesn't take much of a switch for it to feel great, for it to feel exciting, for it to have possibilities. And I think some part of that is just thinking, it's a phase. You know, if you feel a certain way, it's a phase. Tomorrow's a fresh day. My dad does this lovely habit, it's beautiful, of sending me a sunrise if he goes to the beach with my mum to watch the sun come up, and he'll send it to me in the morning and just say good morning or something nice or good morning words. And it's funny because even in the middle of lockdown, when I don't live near a beach, I never felt resentful that I wasn't there. It was just a really good reminder that the sun is going to keep rising and it's a fresh day and there's fresh possibilities, and it's really uplifting. And I think sometimes people just need that bit of hope that it's going to be a fresh day, fresh possibilities, fresh ways of doing things, that you don't have to be stuck in yesterday. I think a lot of people live their lives in yesterday, like they're governed by bad experiences or by bad things that happen to them, or mistakes they've made, or self-reproach, or, you know, self-criticism. And I think it's very hard to live in today if you're living in yesterday, you know. And I think actually live in the present, live in the moment, you know, try and be a bit mindful. Like if you're reacting, why are you reacting? Try and have that depth of knowledge about yourself, and I think life becomes a lot easier.
Love that, the present moment. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. So there's a great book by Eckhart Tolle, because I've over the last couple of years become a bit more spiritual, and I know people talk about this, but it's not like, it's just really about knowing more about yourself. Like, and it's great. And he talks about the present moment, like you said about that whole thing, not going into your past. Because if I just kept going, oh, I felt really depressed, and this would be terrible. I'd feel terrible now if I started, you know, really like believing in that. And so the whole thing about you are the story you tell yourself. I mean, we talk about this on the podcast a lot, that whatever story you're telling yourself, that is the story you're going to live it out. Like, so if you continue to say whatever you're saying, it's negative, you're going to live it out.
It's even more powerful than that. It's the stories our families tell us.
Yeah.
So if you tell, you know, people that you're come from a family of this and of that, that's all negative, chances are you repeat that negative cycle. You know, as if you're told about, you know, these really empowering, inspiring generational stories, that's really, really gives you something to aim for, because if your ancestors can do it, you can do it. So I think, you know, even you should be careful what stories you pass on to your children. You know, it can affect their fortunes as well.
I definitely agree with that. And this is why I'm really like creating this type of content, because I want people to recognize that actually what's the mindset that actually where people are starting to win, what is that mindset needed? And that mindset is, it's the way you speak. It's the way, you know, if you've got children, how do you speak to your children? You know, giving them possibilities, you know, all those types of good language is really important. And always thinking about, because people think, oh, I've suddenly got success. People haven't just got success. There's usually like a real bit of hardship that's happened. It's like, you can see the iceberg, right? Like, it's the lovely bit of the iceberg at the top, but all this, it's not overnight success. There's been a lot of work that's gone into that, right? Like you, Jenny, right? You've had to go through a lot of pain, right? Because life's hard, right? To get to this place where, oh, I've actually got some success now, but it's taken me a lot of effort, right?
But it's perception, isn't it? Like if I think about it too much, you know, I can let fear creep in, you know, I can feel a bit of self-doubt. But I just try and stay on my path, on my journey, on what I want to achieve. And I just give myself a good talking to and say, don't be an idiot. Like, come on, get
yourself a good talk. Do you know who you sound like? A little bit. There's this guy called David Goggins. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Right.
Sorry, David.
David Goggins. Look him up on Instagram. Right.
Okay.
He basically says you have a word with yourself. Like, he's brilliant. Like, I mean, he literally cusses, swears, but he like.
If you have on my street, then isn't he?
If you have exactly. If you have a bad, like, you won't, like, just like, but you sound like you're on that similar journey. But if any of your team, just get a bit of David Goggins in your life, and when you're having a hard time, just hear him talking to you, or Jenny talking to you on this podcast, just replay this, just have a word with yourself. But it's true, isn't it? I think
pull yourself up and say, right, I can do this, whatever.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think, you know, this, it's not really fake. I can do. It's like, just keep trying. Like, you can do it. Like, there are lots of people.
Failure can't cope with persistence, and it's true.
Oh my God, I've just done a video on persistence. Yeah, I just done a video on my YouTube. Yeah, persistence. Like, it's so true. Since, you know, you do things regularly, you think better, you like, you know, exercise, whatever. Anything you do more of, the better you get. It's more, that's good for you. You know, get more into your life. You wouldn't put like rubbish into a Ferrari, would you? So why would you put rubbish into stuff? Those sorts of things. So I was going to ask you, because you know, I want to get this thing in, because you know, you're a force for good, Jenny. I love this conversation. It's so infectious. It's lovely. Because you're talking about people going through difficult lives, and you got this charity you support, and I want to give them a mention on the podcast. Jigsaw, you talked about earlier.
Fabulous charity.
Do you want to just, firstly, just tell me a bit of a story, how you got involved in it and what they do, because we can just get this out on the podcast so people can see this, they can support.
Yeah, so it's an absolutely incredible charity. A really great team there. The CEO Stephen I really buy into him and what he wants to do, and it's a small charity, but it's not tiny. Like, they look after Sutton and Merton areas, and Nutcracker is based in Sutton. So I wanted to support something which affected something on my doorstep, because I really do believe in community and building communities and that whole kind of ethos. So Jordan, who works on my team, I said, look, research some charities. I really want to get involved, but not from a lip service point of view. I really want to get involved in this charity. So George did some research, came up with some charities, and we came across Jigsaw, and blown away by what they do. Went to see them. We went along and met the CEO and this lovely lady Jenny who works there, and heard about what they do and what their principles are and the types of children and young adults they help. And it's a real humbling moment of how lucky your life is, and how much suffering there is, but more in an uplifting way, that you can help suffering, that suffering, it doesn't have to be suffering by yourself. And they do lots of different things around bereavement. Poor children have lost, say, both parents, perhaps one to suicide, like they're suddenly in a care system. That's pretty stark, pretty rough card that these kids are being dealt. More awful things are happening. Well, I'm not sure is anything more awful than losing a parent, but awful things are happening to them. And some of the artwork in there is real testament to the human spirit and to resilience, and to the good work these therapists are doing with these fabulous young people. Anyway, it really struck a chord with me, because the CEO was talking to me about children that have gone through the care system, and only 4 to 5% of people are in the care system out of the population, but actually make up 40 to 50% of the prison population. So clearly it's not exactly a great start in life. But he was explaining that when you come out of care at 18, all of a sudden you're set up with some form of accommodation, you're giving some form of money, and then you're at a very difficult crossroads, because you haven't got your mum or your dad or a caregiver to call to ask how to cook bolognese. You're suddenly on your own. And that just really, really struck a chord in me, not having anyone on the end of the phone to help. Like, that really bothered me. So they're an amazing charity. And one thing that we're doing this Christmas, and anyone listening, you're very welcome to join in. We are going to get care packages where we wrap up presents for people in care. So we're going to wrap it beautifully, just some nice toiletries for girls and boys of teenage years, to make sure they've got something to open on Christmas Day. And then next year I'm very excited, because I'm going to be doing some preparation for interviews with these young people that need to go and get jobs. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the charity, because I think what they do is so important. So yeah, more than happy to give them a plug. Absolutely amazing charity.
Well, when we end this, send me give me the link or something, and we pop it in the link in the description below on the video, so they can get links to that, so we can do that as well as links to where we find you and your amazing agency, which would be brilliant. So so we're sort of nearing the end, and I just want to sort of get to where you want to be with Nutcracker now. So Nutcracker 1, how did you come up with the name?
I can't take credit. It's so annoying. I can't come up with any credit. My husband came up with the name.
Right, that's because I think I did really know that, because it was on the.
Yeah, I want to lie, but the thing is, that's a bit.
Don't lie. Just but it's all. So one's that.
I had this moment of inspiration. Imagine me going home and be like, that was my credit. No, he came. My
husband listened to it.
Yeah.
So he came up with it, did he? He came up with it. Yeah. So, okay, what's the vision then for Nutcracker from now on? So, what is it? What is the big vision for Nutcracker? What is it? Where is it? Where are we going?
Well, we're in a growth mode, which is very exciting. Having gone through a year of COVID, so actually be in growth mode and not be going down the toilet is wonderful. So we've come through COVID. We're on quite a sharp upward curve. We've got lots of different things happening. We've got some really exciting clients, a really exciting new client we just started working on, which I'm particularly excited about. And I don't talk about it yet, but it will really resonate with you with mental health. And yeah, I just want to kind of really grow now. We've kind of bedded in as an agency. We've got 6.5 years behind us. We've got really solid foundations. We've done award-winning work. We've won lots of awards. We do great stuff. And I think I wrote on my LinkedIn actually on Friday. I had quite a big week last week. It was a very busy week, lots of really demanding. And it was a bit of a roller coaster because there was different things that were happening, which some of them were difficult, some of them were good, some of them were just taxing on my mind. And I got to Friday and I promised Jordan I'd do a LinkedIn post every week. She's spearheading Nutcracker social media. And I thought, oh, I haven't done a post. I'm terrible. So I quickly wrote, but it was really easy to write. And what was lovely about it was I was talking about feedback and how important feedback is. At Nutcracker, we do a lot of talking about the power of feedback and being open to constructive feedback, whether it's positive or negative, because we can all learn and grow as people and produce better work. So feedback at Nutcracker is seen as something to embrace rather than something to fear. And I was really lucky last week because, well, you very kindly mentioned the webinar I did with Simon and you said you got value from it. So much amazing feedback from these people that bothered to reach out to me to say thank you. That was lovely. And then had some great feedback from clients. The team themselves, we've got a bit of a cultural change. They embraced it, doing great. Like, I just felt really privileged, and I felt really like the hard work is coming together and it's a solid foundation. It's ready to really grow. And I think my long-term approach will pay off because it will grow, but it will be able to, rather than kind of rushing ahead and you're suddenly going, oh. So yeah, so the next steps for Nutcracker are just to really, really grow now. We're going big. We're going to go big,
Love
Joe.
it. Wow, look at that. So you saw it here. I've got an interview with Jenny, so you first saw it here on the InspirationNation podcast. You saw it here first. So I'm really interested. I could speak for ages, literally, but there's one thing I picked up because you talk about feedback. So tell me about feedback. The feedback at Nutcracker. Then tell me what's it like. So if I was working for you, how do you give feedback? How do you encourage people? How do you get them to feel motivated to be better and not so they feel, oh, I've done it wrong again? How do you? What's the magic formula?
Quite unusual in the sense that it's quite a emotionally mature place to work. Like, I really believe in tapping into emotions, tapping into what governs people, what drives people, so I can really understand where their barriers are. So for me, with you, for example, I'd really delve into your background with depression, what you mentioned being unconfident, but I'd then really look at how that was impacting on the decisions and how you were then performing now. So I'd really understand it. And I think that kind of empathy is really important, so that you've got a foundation built on trust, built on respect, and built of feeling understood. And I think if you know someone understands you, then you know they understand your strengths and your weaknesses. And I think good feedback is factoring in someone's weaknesses, because sometimes if someone isn't a square peg and they can't get through a round hole, they can't. I mean, how much they want to, you're just setting them up to fail. So I think really understanding someone's limitations, where they can grow to, but what they're good at, but where their weaknesses are, is where you can really support them and help them make, the right choices and do some really great work. And I think at Nutcracker, it's always a balance with feedback, because no one likes to hear it's not great. No one does, myself included. But actually, well, I say myself included, I actually do like to hear if it's not great, because I love to learn. So if someone tells me I can improve, I go, brilliant, how? Because I want to get better and better and better. So I guess for me, feedback is a gift, because someone's bothering to give me feedback. And I guess that's how I say what I say to the Nutcrackers is, if you have someone investing the time you giving you feedback, that's a gift, because they're not just saying, oh, it's not good, or give me a second draft, or, oh, why did you perform that way? It's kind of, let's talk about this. Where does this come from? What's happening here? And I think that's when you have really great work. And I think with Nutcracker, it's a real team. And that's what I'm really proud of. It's a real team. It's people support each other, people nurture each other, and people get frustrated because they care, but it's from the right place. So I guess feedback is easier in an environment like that, because it's not said to be demeaning or catty or nasty, or because someone's had a bad journey into work. It's said because everyone is trying to produce exceptional work, and that's the end goal, and that's what everyone's driving towards. So I guess it's easier because someone's not feeling like it's pointed or it's personal. They're feeling like, we're in this together and this is going to improve what we're doing. So I guess it seems a positive at Nutcracker rather than as critical.
Lovely. And one thing I picked up from you is about the intention, right? The intention is to help someone be better, right? And if people can feel that, that's what I'm getting from you. This is how I feel it is. It's like, I'm doing this because I want you to be better. Like, I want to help you be better. And there's a belief there. That's what's coming across in what you said. Would you say that would be about what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I really believe in life being this great thing to grab. And I think if I've got responsibility, if someone works at Nutcracker, I want them to fulfill the potential. I want them to grow for their careers. I want them to overcome fears. I want them to conquer stuff I don't think they can do. I want to really push them to do bigger and better things. Well, the only way you can evolve and develop is if you get feedback. otherwise you can't grow and develop. So, I'll say if someone's finding it difficult, well, where do you want to be? Do you want to be here in a year, or do you want to be up there in a year? It's going to take a bit of work.
Brilliant. Yeah,
And I think having a growth mindset and thinking about growth and seeing feedback as a growth mindset, it then becomes motivational. It then comes, give me more feedback. You get greedy for it. It's like, tell me again. I want to get better. I want to get better. And I think then feedback is really motivating. So anyone listening that isn't good at feedback, what I would say is leave your outrage or indignation or self-criticism or insecurities at the door and really listen, because whether you're listening or not, someone's still thinking it. So I always think, I want to hear what someone's thinking, because if they tell me it's good but inside they're thinking it's not, they're still thinking it. So I want to hear the truth. I want to hear the real reason. So for me, I'm all about being authentic, having I want to have trust in relationships, whether it's colleagues, whatever. I want to feel that there's a trust there. Well, the only way to have trust there is if you're honest about your feedback. You can be kind about it, but you have to be honest about it.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. Trust. That's what you need to build, and that can, it's very easy to lose and very hard to gain. So I think it's a really good message.
And I think it's being sensitive. Like, some people do find it difficult, and some people will overanalyze, so then beat themselves up. Like, it depends on how secure someone is, to how sensitive you have to be, and you do. And then you've got a real responsibility to get to know people, because a throwaway comment can really affect someone's mind. So I think it's really about understanding your colleagues, understanding who you work with, understanding what governs them, what makes them tick, what affects them, and then being kind, but saying what needs to be said. I think that's the most important thing. Don't shy away from the difficult conversations, but be mindful at who you're delivering it to and how it needs to be delivered.
Love that. That's why I think coaching is so powerful. You coach well, you're going to crush that. That's fantastic. So I want to finish off with one last question. It's Inspiration Nation podcast. What would you say? Can you leave us with an inspirational message of something maybe that we can take away? Maybe something you say to your people at Nutcracker to give their best, to feel inspired every day at work. What would you say to our audience to feel inspired?
Well, it's not to do with Nutcracker. It's to do with my daughter. So to my children, I always say to them, look, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. It's really straightforward. Like, it is that simple. And I've really tried to hammer that into them. So if they say they're going to have a bad day, I say, yeah, you will. Because you said it. So trying to instill in them the power of their own destinies and the power of positive mindset. So I had a situation with my daughter, who's 13, where we had to install a printer. Now, I'm not particularly good with technology instructions. I have this blanket switch which goes, I don't want to read it. But so I was just like, Isabel, I'm not very good at this stuff. And she went, Mummy, if you think you can, you can.
Straight back at you.
But in that moment, my mind went, yes, of course I can. And I calmly looked it up, calmly programmed this printer. And for me, if you think you can, you can is one of the most powerful things we can tell ourselves. If you think you can, you can. If someone's out there is looking for some inspiration, if you think you can, you can. So the next time you go to tell yourself, I'm no good, I'm this, I'm that, stop that mindset and just think, I can do this, whatever it is. And I think the other thing that's really important is having achievable goals. Often people set themselves up to fail. It's self-sabotage, and they're almost a self-fulfilling prophecy of failure because they don't believe they can win. So I think it's really important to have goals which you can feel good about, and targets. So at the end of each day, you've taken something positive from your day that you have achieved. So I always say to people, don't leave the hardest thing to the end of your list. Put it at the top of your list. Get it done first. Because then you're not spending the whole day with that thinking, feeling, getting to your bad bit. You're getting it out of the way, you're feeling good, you've won something, and then you're moving on. So 3 things. If you think you can, you can. Tackle the hard stuff first and set achievable targets which can make you feel good.
That's so amazing. So I was listening to Marissa Peer. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, Marissa Peer. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
She's ignorant. No, sorry. I should start saying yes I have.
Yeah, she's I've only recently sort of got into her content, but she's hypnotherapist, psychologist, but she's really big. And I've been listening to some of her content, and she says successful people do the hardest things first. They do the things that they don't want to do first. They do them because they just crush them. And when they do that first, they build the habit because they want to build.
Funny? Well,
so you're saying it. This is the habit of success, right? Go on. You're going to say something, Jenny.
I always tackle the hardest thing first. Always. I want to put it to get it done.
That's it, right? So this is the habits that I'm drinking in, right? So I'm learning all this stuff. Do the hardest things. So I'm really learning to do the hardest things first. That is a great thing.
But also,
Wonderful.
then you've got to give yourself good talking to, because you find it hard. Then you've got to shut down your procrastination. I mean, I don't procrastinate. I'm very lucky. I've just got that kind of mindset where I don't. But if people do, I'm just like, get back there and do it.
Yeah, because there's things that I'll tell you what, I'll just do this and just do. No, you've got to do that first important thing.
Do the hard bit first.
Yeah. I get up at 5. I get around 5 o'clock and go for a run. So that's my hard thing. I just do it. I need to get up and do. So I'm doing it for November. So I'm doing this November. So I'm going to run every day.
Oh, I saw you were doing a run. I meant to ask you about it. So I'm so glad you reminded me. I saw you on LinkedIn doing a run.
Yeah, so I'm doing that every day. There's a video of me doing the run every day to the end of November. So that's my hard thing that I'm doing. I'm training myself, Jenny. Go on.
Are you doing it for sponsorship?
Yeah, we've got a little link on there. So
I'll make sure Nutcracker sponsors you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
But that's it. But you're speaking the truth. This is fantastic. So this is brilliant. It's so weird that it's all come up today. Like, this is just weird that it's happened, but it's all that things, isn't it? So look, let's just finish off about where can people find you? How can they engage with you if they want to use your services? Do you want to tell people where you find you and everything like that?
Yeah, so I would love to talk to as many of you as possible about anything, really. I'd just like to have people engage with what I've said. Any form of feedback's great. And if you want to talk about marketing, well, even better. But actually, any feedback is wonderful. So I say even better. It'd be nice to hear from you. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Jenny Knighting, on Twitter at Jenny Knighting, or via Nutcracker Agency. If you look up www.nutcrackeragency.com, and you'll be able to access my email and reach me through there.
Fantastic. Jenny, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Emily, thank you.
We could have gone on for ages. I think we could have spoken for ages. So it was great. No, seriously. And so what we'll do, I just really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for giving the time. I really appreciate it. And please, everybody, you're more than welcome. It's more than welcome. Everybody, please go and connect with Jenny. Go to Instagram. They've got a great Instagram account. They say LinkedIn. Drop Jenny a message. It's fantastic. So thank you, Jenny. And as I say, look forward to seeing how your journey gets on. Let's love it. Right. All right. Catch you later. Sorry, go on. Yeah, you too. Take care. All right. See you later.
Bye, Joe.
Wasn't that a great interview? Let's take the main points, the 3 main points. Number 1, idea to action. Make sure you get the idea, take action, like Jenny said on the shoot. Number 2, know yourself. Talk to yourself kindly and know who you are. Find your purpose. Dig into that and move forward. And number 3, do the hard things first. That's what successful people do. Hit the mindset. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, 5-star review. If you really enjoyed this, I think you'll really enjoy these videos over here, the other interviews that we've done on the podcast. And don't forget to subscribe. That'll mean a lot to me. And also, don't forget to hit the bell to notify you when another video goes live. So until next time, Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you there.